So let's go to the actual analysis of the data. Now, this is the main command of the Q method, and is, as I said, a factor analysis. Basically, is a principal component analysis, to be precise. I have two lines here. The two lines do the same thing, but in the second one, I am adding some more options. This is just to show that the command itself has a baseline option, and then you can kind of work with slightly different methods. So the first one is going to be a principal component analysis, which is what we are going to do, but you can use, for example, also other extraction methods and other rotation methods and so on. So you can kind of, personalize a little bit what you are going to do if you are an expert in factor analysis and know how to do the stuff. But if we do this, the important thing to note here is that we are setting a number of factors equal to 5 because the eigenvalues bigger than 1 were actually 5. So if I run this, I'm running the command into an object which is called results. Oops. So let me just, I probably missed a couple of lines. Right. So we now have an object called results. So this is the results of our factor analysis, and this is going to be a list. So this means a set of different elements, and here you can find all the different things that the command did. So we have, for example, the original data set here. We have, for example, here the factor loadings. We have, for example, here the flag that I will explain what that means. Then the standardized score for each of the statements and so on. So these are all the elements that we are going to inspect, basically. If I can go on, I can have a very quick look. As I said, the first thing that we aim to do is to group people into factors, right? So if I run this command, we can start having a look at the factor loadings. And because we told the command that we think there are 5 different groups of people, it basically took all the respondents, and these are the factor loadings coming out, which are basically telling us how the respondents group between themselves, right? So the Q method package automatically flags the respondents into one group. This is quite easily done because, as we said before, the higher the factor loading, it means that the respondents belongs to that point of view, let's say. So, for example, respondent 1 belongs to point of view number 5 and is also flagged. Respondent number 3 is 087 compared to the other, belongs to the point of view number 2, the factor 2, and so on. Now, there are some respondents, as you can see, that do not clearly belong to any of them, okay? These respondents, then when we go and interpret the analysis, we can basically pick the highest one. But in principle, this one are those respondents who do not, let's say, clearly kind of have a point of view on. We go ahead with the command, then we have this one. This command here is just telling us, again, a summary of this factor analysis. So here, for example, is again telling us about the eigenvalues and how much variance each of the groups or cluster explain. But yes, if we go on, we can, again, summarize all the results. And this is an average score of each of the statements. So now we are going onto the statement. So once we have grouped the people, we are going to have a look at what statements define each of the group more than the other. And first we can have a look at it in, okay, this won't work again, but here it is. So, right. So this is going to be quite a big one, okay? This one is basically telling us in terms of the statements here, 1, 2, 3, and so on, if they distinguish specifically one of the groups. So if they capture the point of view of one group compared to another, or if, for example, they find consensus within all the groups. So, for example, we can say the statement number 6 is a consensus statement. So this means that all the clusters basically agree about that. But, for example, we can see that statement number 1 is characteristics of how the fourth group think about this issue. Now, yeah. 4, yeah. We have this course, so yeah, I will extract now like the data and basically in the last step you here we go. So in the last step, I am just creating the data set that are the data set with the results, and we can have a look at that directly. So I'm writing on my folder, and if I open, right, here we are. So first of all, we have the results of the grouping of respondents, which is here. Here we go. So as we said, right, in this file, for example, we can start grouping the respondents. So the respondent number 1 was the university array. And if we have a look, these are the loadings. So this means how much is likely to belong to one group or another. And this is going to go in 5, right? So we'll just go green. Second one is a public government, a Bentic ecologist. This one was the one not having a really clear point of view. We are going to go with the highest one. So this is going to go in group 1. This university student, number 3, is going to go in group 2 because this is the factor loadings higher. And again, number 3, similar to the public government in number 1. Number 4 is going to, well, the 5 is going to be in group 1. So here you can see that we start seeing some, you know, people start grouping themselves into the different. So here, for example, we can see already that we have in group 1, for example, already these 5 sorts that are similar between themselves. And then basically what you do, you go through it and you start keep flagging. So this university researcher belongs in point of view 3 and so on. So I won't finish it, but just because we can have a look in this way to the results of the statements, right? So here it is. Just let me explain very quickly what this is. So here we have, of course, the number of the statement. In this column, we have the statement text itself. Here we have the so-called, these are the standardized score. So this basically show what is the let's say a sort of average score of each statement onto each group. So already from here, we can, for example, have a look at where this statement is belongs, and we can see that group 1, for example, tend to agree with fishing cultures and tradition are important to the UK much more than the other groups. While, for example, group number 4 of the respondents really doesn't agree. And if I go here, I also have how much that actually characterizes one of the groups. And for example, this statement about cultures and tradition characterizes in particular the group 4 because they really don't agree with it much more compared to the other. So I go and I flag it. The second one, for example, right? The focus on sustainability places unfair pressure on fishers. It doesn't have a very clear characterization. Well, this is at least what the package is telling us, right? But for example, we can see that group number 1 and group number 4 and 3 really do not agree with that. So this depends on how much we want to go in depth with our interpretation, right? So we could flag this one into a group as well. But if we go ahead, for example, this one, fish farms and industrial fishing are taken away from small-scale fishers and local fishers, really distinguishes the group number 2, who do not agree with it. But if we want to kind of, be a little bit more in depth, it also really distinguishes the number 5, who really agree with that. So this is the type of trade-off that we are looking for between the two groups.